Right, so today is finally time to address something I've been meaning to do for quite a while, and the reason why I just backed this up on ramps. Today we're going to delete the active exhaust. Now there's a couple ways to delete the exhaust. People make some kits, and there's supposedly a free method on a 19 and up. But first, what is the active exhaust? Well, in case you don't know, inside the exhaust pipe is a little valve, like a butterfly valve, that has a hole in it. Kind of like, you see this little washer? It's tiny, but so imagine a washer except that big. And there's a little hole. So when it's closed, it basically shrinks the diameter into the smaller diameter, so it quiets the exhaust down. Then when you go wide open throttle, the actuator spins it, so it's like that. So it's essentially just a full open exhaust. And then I believe it rotates and partially closes depending on the throttle position and all that. So what we want to do is we just want to leave that valve completely open 100% of the time. Now, the older Challengers, you couldn't just disconnect the actuators because it would throw a code. But on 19 and up, supposedly, as long as you leave the actuator plugged in, you wire the flip valve open, it should not pop any codes up. There's a 1320 owner in the Facebook group who has had that for well over a year now and says he's never had a code pop up at all. But the trick is you cannot unplug that actuator. So we're going to test it out. But before we do, let me show you. I got two kits. Okay, so I actually bought this one a long time ago. Let's go ahead, open up. This is the Khaos Motorsports Kit. It's a mechanical delete. So I've not opened this up yet, and this cost, I want to say, this was $150 for this kit. So we got a sticker, actually two sued. I like that. Nice little vinyl sticker, small sticker, business card, instructions. And then right here we have the nuts and everything. So that's one version. Now there's a new one out, put out by Automotive. Now these are the same people that make the tasers, and they made a plug-and-play kit where you can actually remove the actuators. And I didn't really unbox this before. That's just how it comes. Then get taped up. It's this little pouch here, Automotive sticker, and then we have these plugs. Now I got these, one, because I want to test it. They are more expensive, so that was $150. These was $180. But cool thing on Automotive, if you are a veteran, I think first responder, they actually give you 10% off. So I did get that. And by the way, I'm not sponsored in any way. I actually paid full price for that. I'll show the receipt for that, and I'll show you the receipt on this side. But I did want to just show you how much things weigh. These are 0.6 ounces altogether, not even an ounce. Anyway, that's going to come into play much later. Whereas these Khaos Motorsports come in at 15 ounces, so just under a pound. Of course, there's a couple things in here. Okay, enough talking. Let's get underneath the car. Okay, now I will say, when you do this, make sure that your exhaust is cooled down. I do have this temp gun, so I tested it's at 64, 71, so everything is cooled down, so I know I can touch these things. So these are the actuators, one right here. They're actually, there's not a left and right side, so you see they're both located on the same side of the pipe on each one. Okay, so in the instructions actually on Khaos, it says it's 3 10mm nuts, but it's actually 8mm. So let's go ahead and take these off. I'm going to loosen each one up first, and there are 3 of them. Okay, now you have to be careful because there's a spring in between this and there. So you want to kind of hold it because that spring, you can see it's already exerting some pressure outward. Nuts off, and you could feel that spring. Okay, now you want to be careful because one, when the car is off, the valve is always in the open position. So let's go ahead. I'm just going to throw it right there for the moment. Oh yeah, you could. This actually turns pretty easily. So what we're going to do, I actually have some wire here, and this actually kind of lips around. So you can see it comes out right there. So probably what we want to do is go through this hole and tie it around here to keep it from going that way. Man, I tell you what, this is reminds me of my Air Force days. Kind of wish I had safety wire pliers because that's essentially what this is. That's not going nowhere. I may need to play with it a little bit more, maybe add some more wire because it can move a little, so it might rattle. Actually, you know what? I can use the nut to tighten that down. Watch this. Okay, quick tip. If you're going to do something like this, go ahead and use the nut to tighten down on it because I'll tell you what, there's no movement at all now. That actually works out really nice. Okay. So now I just want to put that like that just for the moment. Why do I want to do this? Because I'm going to put the GoPro under here, pointed at this as I start the car up. And then we're going to do a couple things. We're going to start it up, put it in drive, see what happens. We're going to put it in drag mode too and just see how this moves. So first, let's go ahead and do the other actuator. This one's a little tight because of this gas line here. This one is now wired a little loose. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to grab a nut this down, and that should actually pull it tight. Okay, the nut helps, but it might rattle a little still, so good thing I got multiple wires. Okay, this one's pretty solid. Yeah, pretty good. I'm not going to worry about a nut on that one. One is enough. Okay, I'm going to put this one, same position as this one. I'm going to put the GoPro over here. We're going to go and start it up. We're going to see, first, are any codes going to pop up? And two, see what these things do. Okay, so hopefully this comes out. I've got the GoPro right there, aimed right at both actuators. You can see the direction of the spring. Okay, so again, I am not driving off of here. I'm just going to leave it parked. We're just going to see what happens. All right, moment of truth. Let's start her up. So far, so good. No check engine light. Voice of future me here. I'm actually editing this video right now, which is the first chance I had to take a look at the actuators and see what they're doing, or should I say not doing. As we saw, as soon as I started it up, you could see how they cycled through, spun a little bit, went back to open, and then did nothing. I went through and put the car in drive, put in manual mode, first gear, second gear, parked, revved it up, put it in drag mode, all sorts of stuff. And throughout everything I was doing, the actuators did not move whatsoever. And the car was warm. It was at pretty much full operating temp, so it wasn't cold. And there's no reason they shouldn't have been working, because we do know that the actuators close off the valves even when you're just parked and sitting there. That's why cold starts are so much louder than warm starts. But I have a theory as to why we didn't see it move at all, and part of it I think has to do with why on 2019 and up they no longer throw a code. So when the valve opens, like when we messed with it, it only moves 90 degrees, which makes sense. You picture the valve from open to close, 90 degrees, that's it. But when it cycled, if you watch the spring, it actually went way past 90 and went about 270 degrees, and then went right back to open, and then didn't do anything at all. So what I'm thinking is there's something in the actuator and the programming of the computer where it's doing a self-check. In cars, vehicles, they all do self-checks when you first start it. The airbag system, for example, sends signals to all the airbags, and if there's something wrong, it'll pop up an airbag light. So these actuators are just part of that self-check. So it does that self-check, and normally that actuator would get stopped once it spins 90 degrees, and that's it. So that's when you hear the click-clack when you do the start of the valves opening and closing really quick. And it's, everything's running functioning fine. But in this case, it's spun way past that. So I'm thinking it senses that and says, oh, there's something up. It's not fully working. The actuator's connected though, so we know that's good. So it just defaults into staying open all the time. Which makes sense, because why should you throw a code? In that case, The electrical signal, it knows the actuator's there, it knows the actuator's working, but it's most likely maybe something with the valve, who knows. But no matter what position the valve is in, there's nothing wrong with it, nothing's going to break. It could be fully closed, it still works. You'll be a little more restricted at wide open throttle, but that's it. So there's really no danger in no matter what position that valve is in. And I think that's kind of why there's no code, because it's really, truly not that necessary. So unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to see what the actuator does throughout the different modes, but at least we know that the actuator doesn't just endlessly spin or anything. So we see what it does, and every time you start it, it's just going to do that check. Okay, now before I continue, I just want to say, Z Automotive, like I say, you sticker this in this box, which is like a generic box. No instructions whatsoever. But if you go to the site, okay, so if we go to Z Automotive, search exhaust, inactive exhaust. So here they are, like you said, $189, and additional information, instructions. Click here to download. Okay, so it's plug and play. Keep your blah, blah, blah. We already know why we want it. It's two pieces, the microcontroller and the blank. It doesn't matter which one is the right or the left. Obviously, this is the microcontroller module with the wires. This is the blank. I don't know what these for. Actually, you know what? I just saw that. I bet you these are to plug into your actuators to keep the connectors clean and plugged up. I bet you that's what it is. Hey, Z Automotive, update your instructions to add in what these two pieces are for. So I'm pretty sure that I'm guessing it correctly, that they're just to put into actuators so that, you know, protect the connectors. Okay, let's get back under. Go ahead and pull this off. Oh, it's this tab right there. Unplugged. Okay, that fits on just like that. And now we need to zip tie it somewhere. We'll zip tie it right there. What is this line? Looks like that's a brake line. Okay, and that's not going anywhere. Now, you don't have to make it super tight. Now put this other one. And there's only one way you can put these dummy plugs in, because there's a little notch right here, and one side's flat, one's rounded. So you can't put it in the wrong way. Now, where are we going to zip tie this one is the question. I hope you can see that. I got this little thing right here. I'm not sure what it is, but that's where we're going to zip tie it. Okay, here we go. Other plug out of the way. Let's get out from under here. Okay, now just in case you are wondering, how did these mechanical ones work? Well, this, I don't know if you can see it very well, there's two little slots here. So these slots actually go right into that valve, the part that we wired open. So this is already in a direction to keep it open, so you don't have to wire anything. And then this is where the actuator goes into here. Now, the way it works is you take the spring out, and there's these two little pins here, and you stick that pin in here. And that pin will actually turn and hit these knobs. And this simulates the valve being open and shut. That way it stays closed. But if you see, it goes basically like that. So it's very clean. They get the Khaos underneath here. In my opinion, looks a million times better than that ugly MFer one. But you know, they do the same thing, not like you're under there seeing all the time. Since we know that the free method works, why did I spend all the money? I want to make videos of it, honestly, so I couldn't do this video without it. But the other reason, once I found out about these plugs, I was like, oh, that's even better, because these things I knew were not going to weigh much, and we already know it's 0.5 ounces. Now I'm all about weight reduction. Let's see, how much do these things weigh? So these together are about the same weight as those plugs. Take those out. So basically we're saving 12.6 ounces. Not even a pound, but again, weight reduction, it all adds up. Every ounce adds up. Okay, so that about sums up everything. Now I do want to do one more thing in this video, and that is, what sound difference do you get from keeping the valves open all the time? Well, if you saw, I mentioned earlier, I had the mic'd exhaust. And when I did that mic'd exhaust video, I actually did a couple drives at certain speeds and gears with the just normal drives, so the active exhaust would have been fully functioning. So I'm going to go do the exact same thing, and this time, obviously, they're inactive. So, and I'll play them side by side. I'll try to be on same roads, same speed, same everything, and let's see what kind of difference in sound we get. Okay, moment of truth. This will be the first startup with the Z Automotive inactive exhaust plugs in. Let's go ahead and see what happens. So far so good, no light. Okay, so I am in the exact same spot now where I did the active exhaust working sound clips. I've already got the sound recorder going, and I kind of wrote down my cheat sheet to mimic exactly what I did the first time. I will say this though right now, I've been driving for 15 minutes. No light has come on, so everything's good. Let's go for a drive. We're going to start with a warm start. So let's see what that sounds like. Okay, so let's wrap up this video with my final thoughts, what I think about everything. I actually just got done editing most of this video, so I got the chance to actually see the springs and then hear the clips of the difference with the active exhaust and inactive exhaust. Regarding the springs, you already heard me. I dubbed over my audio of what I thought on that part of it. But now with the sound clips between active and inactive, again, I just want to say again, it's all uses the same sound recorder app in my phone with the exact same headset mic that's taped up outside at the rear bumper in the exact same spot. In fact, that mic hasn't moved whatsoever between the two clips, the first and the last. So it really is exactly the same. No sound settings were different or anything. And I'm going to say that if you want to hear a good difference, you need a good good sound system or get some good earphones in. So when I was listening to it just through my laptop speakers, it was really hard to tell any difference at all. But then I put in some really good earphones, and when I did that, I was able to hear the difference a lot better. So I would suggest, if you really care about that difference, make sure you're wearing a good headset, or have some good speakers or something to really hear it really well, because computer speakers just aren't gonna bring it out as much. So what I noticed is, while it didn't sound louder to me, it did sound throatier. It sounded a little deeper. That's the best way I can explain it. It's kind of like, imagine your stereo system or sound system, and you're adjusting the bass levels, and you had the bass levels turned down a little bit, and that's what the active exhaust does. And then imagine turning the bass levels up just a little bit higher, and at that point your sound isn't really getting louder, but it sounds better because it's deeper. You got more of that bass, and that's kind of what it sounds like to me when you put the inactive exhaust, when those valves are 100% open. It just sounds throatier, a little deeper, and that's really all I could tell. So now the question is it worth the exhaust? Well, we have to break up into different categories here. We have to break up the different ways to achieve active exhaust delete, and we have to break up the years of your car. So if you have an 18 and below Challenger / Charger, or if you have a 19 and up Challenger / Charger. So let's start with the first method, the free method. And first of all, with the 18 and below, we already know the free method isn't available to you. It's not going to work. As soon as you do it, you're going to get a check engine light, code's going to get thrown, and you got to deal with that. But 19 and up, we know people that said it works, and then I tried it out and it worked. We saw that where the springs stopped, they weren't just aimlessly, endlessly running, spinning around in circles. They did stop, and then they just stayed open, and no codes, no nothing. So the free option is available to you. So in that case, why not do it? It's completely free. All you need to do is rig a little wire thing to keep the valve open, and that's it. Now let's go to the next type, and that's the mechanical delete. That's like the Khaos Motorsports ones that I showed. MFR makes one. There's a few other companies that make them. And we'll start with the 19 and up again. And the 19 and up, no, 1000% mechanical delete, not worth it. Don't waste your money on it, because you can do it for free. So why would you waste your money on it? Now 18 and below, that's a different story. So if you think the sound improvement is worth it, and that's all up to you, everybody's different whether or not they think it's worth it, then mechanical version is an option, and probably the way I would go with. Okay, now what about the Z Automotive plugs? So let's say with the 19 and up, it's pretty simple. Again, no, it's not worth it, because you have the free solution available to you. So you don't need the mechanical or the Z Automotive electric solution. You just don't need it. 18 and below, it's the same situation. If you think the sound improvement is worth it, then it is an option to you. But honestly, for what it is, what it does, I would just go with the mechanical solution. You know, if you want the Khaos, which is one of the more expensive mechanical solutions, I believe, you would be paying $30, $40 less. So in that situation, I really don't see any benefit to paying the extra money for these plugs. Okay, now that I got those out of the way, where is the Z Automotive plugs worth it? Because there are situations where they are definitely worth it. One, if you have an aftermarket exhaust that doesn't have active valves. I think some people, what they've had to do with the older vehicle, 18 and below, they have to wire that actuator somewhere. They still have to use some sort of a delete mechanism, and they have to wire, zip tie it. They've got to hang, they've got to deal with it somewhere. So if you have an aftermarket system that doesn't have active valves, then in that case, the plug will be worth it over a mechanical. Now, what about me though? I don't have an aftermarket system on here, so I clearly don't need it. But why am I keeping? Because I am keeping the Z Automotive ones because I like them. I'm keeping them on. Why am I keeping them on? Well, we already know because I already talked about it when I brought the scale out. Weight reduction, because I get to take off the actuators, so I save some weight. Granted, it's very little weight, hardly any weight whatsoever. I mean, less than not even a pound, but it's still weight. It all adds up. That's how I look at it. But now that I know what the sound difference is, it actually opens up one more option to me, because before I didn't know if I was going to do anything with the mid mufflers, because I didn't know what the sound difference, how much better it would be with the Active Exhaust Delete. But now that I know, it's not enough for me. So I will be going and getting the mid mufflers replaced. I don't like the mid muffler delete. I'm not just flat out deleting them. But I am going to get a pair of Vibrant 1794s. I like the way they sound, so that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to get Vibrant 1794s in place of the mid mufflers. What does that have to do with the active exhaust? Well, when I go to the exhaust shop and get that done, while they're under the car, cutting things off and welding things together, I'm actually going to go ahead and just have them cut out the active valves, because right now, even though they're open, the valves are still in there. They're still in the path of the exhaust. It's not completely smooth because they still have to go around that open valve, but also there's more weight to be reduced there. The weight of the valve, the weight of the mounting plate that the actuator mounts to, that's all steel, so that all weighs something. That's pretty much it. That's my thoughts on it. I hope everything helped you out. Hope the sound clips helped you out. Seeing what happens with the actuators when you start up your car, hope that helped you out. The different methods. So if it helped you out, please leave a comment below. Please like the video. Please subscribe. I don't often ask or beg for people to subscribe, but please, please, please subscribe. I have a lot of ideas, a lot of things I want to do, but I need everybody's support. So if you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button. And that's going to be it for today. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.